I'm Phil Larder and welcome to my DVD. I'm going to show you how a defence is structured, and it will give you ideas of how to make your training perhaps more realistic and obviously more enjoyable. I used this defensive structure for 4 years at Leicester, and during each of those years Leicester conceded fewer tries than any other team in the competition and won the Premiership in each year, and also 2 European Cups. It perhaps was made a little bit more famous working with England, helped England to be ranked #1 in the world, and helped England to put together 12 consecutive victories against the might of the Southern Hemisphere. 12 victories against South Africa, Australia and New Zealand. And of course helped to win the World Cup in 2003. The system works at every level of the game, not only at international level and at Premiership level, but also with schools and with clubs. And because of that, we've come down today and we've been working with Loughborough University. And it will give you some ideas of how the defence can be structured to improve your performances. A little point, perhaps try and understand all the concepts of the defence, but don't copy it as a whole, because a copy is never as good as the original. Take the ideas on board and then try and modify them to fit the strengths and weaknesses of the players in your team, and also modify it to the philosophy of how you want the game to be played. This DVD will show how to construct a defence which is reliable, prevent opposition's tries, control territory, help to win the physical battle, and to control the opposition. Throughout, I'll be talking about the team in possession as the offence and not the attack. The reason for that is very important. It's important that your team goes forward at every opportunity, goes forward when it has the ball, but also goes forward when it is defending. So the terminology that I will use is offence and defence, and we'll attack all the time. The aim of the defence, therefore, is to go forward, exert pressure, force error, and win possession of the ball. To do this successfully, the defence must be proactive and not reactive. As soon as possible, we want every individual player in the defensive line in their specific position doing their job. And if players have to track opposition runners across the field, then the defence is reacting and isn't in full control of the situation. So we must be proactive and not reactive, perhaps the most important part. The first principle is to develop a defensive line, in that all the players work together in line in front of the ball. And when the opposition pass the ball across field, this line slides in front of the ball like a curtain. And once we have that defence going forward, we've developed a very formidable line which the opposition will really struggle to get through, almost like an iron curtain. There are many drills which develop line understanding. And here you can see the players working together on a simple drill as a warm-up. The players are reacting together and doing the exact opposite of the coach who is carrying the ball. When the coach goes backwards, the defensive line goes forward. And when the coach goes to the left, the defensive line moves to the right, always keeping the line in front of the ball. Each individual player has to fully understand the importance of a straight line defence in front of the ball. It also helps their understanding if they appreciate how easy it is for the offence to penetrate a line which is broken by one player either moving forward too quickly or, on the other hand, too slowly. Once this has been learned, the players in the defensive line need to be pressurised by defending against an agile ball carrier with exceptional evasive skills, and a group using various switch plays. The first principle is for the defence to work in line, and the second principle is for those defenders to work in threes. A defender who is isolated and is faced with a ball carrier coming through at him, who's got a little bit of pace, who's got good evasive skills, who's got fast feet, will always be in control, and it will be very difficult for the defender to move forward and make a tackle. One of the tactical aims of rugby is to have more players around the ball than the opposition, and therefore the defence should always attempt to have three line defenders around the ball carrier. When this occurs, the defence becomes proactive and can move forward and forcefully dominate the ball carrier. All the players in line, therefore, are working together in threes. Switch plays are used in an attempt to confuse defenders, endeavouring to attract too many into one channel and therefore leaving another unmarked, which is then targeted. When all the players are able to do this and fully understand the logic behind it, then whatever the opposition do, the defence is in control and can move forward and can dominate the opposition. The key is to be proactive and not reactive. And we can here see the same thing happening when the defence works against clever opposition players who are doing various crisscross moves, including loops and angles of run. Whatever the opposition do, the defensive line nullifies it because the players are working together and communicating together and all singing off the same hymn sheet. As the offence switch positions, it's vital that the defenders don't and stay in line. And because of that, decision making is the third principle of play. And decision making is very enjoyable to coach and very rewarding for the players. And what we are doing is we're working on the small talk between players. We're encouraging them to defend with the heads up, look at the opposition, make decisions, listen to the communication that's coming in from defenders on each side of them, and then to communicate together. And if they work like this, then all the defenders will be working together and will nullify any kind of switch plays that the opposition might throw at them. Coaching decision making in this way is best done through small-sided games, and it is possible for the players in a really enjoyable environment to learn important lessons, not only about the defence, but about the offence as well. Initially, the team play one phase at a time, and it's important here for the coach to check key points. One, we want the players working together in line. Two, we want them to be defending in threes in front of the ball. Three, the communication is absolutely vital. So whatever the opposition throw at us, that the defenders stay in their places and they nullify it because they're communicating and talking together. As soon as the defenders are comfortable defending in this way, the game becomes continuous. The pitch is widened, and to begin with, the offence play a wrap kind of game. And again, the defenders have got to nullify this because of their communication, because of their understanding, and because of their ability to work together. As they become adept, then we can increase the pressure on them by increasing the number of attackers. And in this drill we see here, we start with 3 defenders against 12. And each time the opposition score a try, the number of defenders are increased. And it should be quite possible for a group of 8 or 9 defenders to be successful in defending the full width of the pitch against 12 running the football. So to recap for a minute, we've emphasised the importance of the defenders working in line. Secondly, in that line, they work in threes, getting more defenders around the ball than the opposition. And thirdly, we've had a look at decision making. The fourth principle is now to develop spacings. Now, if the players stand too closely together, then it's going to be easy for the opposition to move the ball wide of them and to penetrate outside the defence. On the other hand, if the defenders stand too wide and the spacings between them is too big for them to be able to cope with, then it's going to be easy for the opposition to go straight through the middle. So the area that we've now really got to work on is spacings. There is no specific rule as to how wide these gaps, the spaces, have to be. It's completely dependent upon the ability of each defender. The outside backs, for instance, will be able to cover a larger space than the second row forwards. And it may be that the second row forwards will be more comfortable defending a slightly wider spacing than a front row forward. So the spacings are completely dependent upon the ability of each individual, and each individual is in control of the spacings on his outside. Spacings can be developed through many games, and here we can see a warm-up game of 12v12. It's vital that the ball carriers try and pressurise the defence by movement of the ball rather than dynamic running, by doing loops, by switching, and by generally moving the ball quickly across the pitch. The spacings should be as wide as each defender on the inside can handle, and it's therefore vital that each one of the defenders in the line verbally controls the width of the spacings on his outside. So once again, communication is absolutely vital. As the game develops, the defenders should endeavour to dominate the middle, and when they force an error, it is important that they pick up the ball and attempt to score a try immediately. In this way, turnover attacks are developed, which can cause the opposition immense problems. A defensive line has now been developed which, as long as the players in it can tackle, will cause the opposition immense problems. The defence should be in control. Because of this, the opposition will attempt either to outflank the defence or to use their kicking skills to penetrate by pushing the ball through the spacings or chipping over. This will be nullified by the pendulum defence, and the key person is the scrum half. He will defend behind the ruck, and he's got some really important duties. The first one is his communication skills to the players in front of him, and he will organise them and make sure that the defence is solid. Secondly, if the opposition get numbers on one side of the ruck, then he will quickly join the line and equate numbers, and will defend there until he considers the situation to be safe. Thirdly, he will diffuse any kicks through the defence or kicks over the defence, and by doing this he will allow the fullback to stand a little bit deeper, and the fullback and the two wingers form the final aspect of the pendulum. The back three players, therefore, also work in threes. The fullback in the middle and the right and left wingers on each side of him. And they work in the pendulum and should be able to diffuse any kind of attacks that the opposition will throw at them. If the opposition launch an attack down the defence's right flank, then the right winger will come up level into the defensive line to create more width. His only concentration is to defend in the line, but to do this he has to be totally confident that the space behind him is well covered. This is the role of the fullback. The fullback, therefore, no longer tracks the ball. As soon as he sees the winger move up at the end of the defensive line, his first priority is to cover any kicks behind him. He is also, of course, in the perfect defensive position to make a cover tackle if the opposition do outflank the line, and it is therefore able to give the line even more width if necessary. As this occurs, the left winger, knowing that the opposition are launching an attack at the other side of the pitch, moves across field, covering all eventualities inside the fullback. He will be covering quite quickly and will also be able to give more width at the end of the line in the unlikely event of a penetration. If the opposition change the direction of their attack and target the defence's left flank, then it is, of course, the left winger who moves up into the line. The fullback will then cover behind him, and it is the right winger that covers across behind the fullback. It is vital